The most important meal of the day, second breakfast.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Second Breakfast. My name is Philip Duvall, and I'm here with my co-host, Andy Roth. Say hi, Andy.
Hi, everybody. Oh, man.
And it's a very, very late edition of our Thursday episode. I apologize for the tardiness of our episode. Of course, most of you are very worried about us, but we are here. It is a Thursday, and I had to get us started because Andy was about to lose it. Because I am a big fat jerk who made him laugh.
There we go. And literally, I
listen.
think the count was at 3 times when I was inhaling to start the show, and you said something.
Well, then I realized all of a sudden that, you know what, I'm gonna pick this one up and put it on my back. And I'll carry us over the finish line, man. Let's get this thing going.
Phil,
I'm here for you.
Thank goodness for you.
Listen. I'm gonna clean up what I spill. Let's just leave it like that.
Fair.
I'm gonna make a mess, but then I'm gonna clean up after myself. And so
that's beautiful.
Thank you. So what are we talking about today, Andy? I'm done emceeing this gig. You talk.
No more. So we often get some variation of the question, what should I watch? Right? Yeah.
Yes.
And one of the things that I think about when, and I think, Phil, you're probably the same way, obviously a great all-around movie is what you're going to go with first. But then you start thinking like, wow, that's a really fun movie, or the characters are really great. And it got me thinking, it got us thinking about characters. And what makes a character fun to watch or fun to root for or what have you. And we were discussing this with our director, Mr. Keith Picaro. Hello, Keith.
Hello, Keith.
And he asked us, does a movie have to have a sympathetic character for it to be enjoyable or for you to like it? And that was, and I really don't want to give Keith really any credit here, but that was actually a pretty insightful question.
I guess, Keith, the answer is yes. Moving on.
Yeah.
End of our show.
This has been another Second Breakfast.
This show that we're on right here doesn't have very many unsympathetic characters or sympathetic characters, and we still watch it.
It's true. That's true. I watch it every day.
Yes. Look at me doing things. Isn't it amazing?
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that generally. What it means to be a sympathetic character and sort of what relation that has to something that is fun to watch.
Okay. Well,
Can I start us off?
Yeah, because I have so many things to say, but I don't know how to Sure. I feel like everything I have to say doesn't actually answer the question.
Sure. Well, first off, although they are often in line, I want to be very clear that sympathetic does not mean likable.
Okay.
And
that helps. The
reason is this: the first character that I think about when I think about a sympathetic character is Luke. From Star Wars. And
I hate when people say they didn't like Luke Skywalker. I love Luke Skywalker, right. But go ahead, continue.
Right. No. I'm not saying he's not likable. I'm saying the fact that he is likable or not has nothing to do with A, whether he is fun to watch, or B, if the movie is fun to watch. I like him too. We're not in disagreement on that. But there is a part of being sympathetic that, again, not always, but it is a way in for the audience.
Okay.
And that, functionally, that is certainly at the beginning of A New Hope, that is what the function of Luke Skywalker as a character is. He is us. He is our eyes. He is learning all of these things as we are learning them. And so because of that, he becomes sympathetic to us. Even the people who hate Luke Skywalker, although they are deficient morally, they are sympathetic to Luke Skywalker by definition.
Yep.
So that's me starting us off.
I think okay. I'm still having a hard time. For some reason, this question just flummoxes me. I think mostly so I could say flummox.
I'm in favor of that.
I'm going to go so far as to say I don't think there's such a thing as a movie without a sympathetic character. And the reason I'll say that is because I was really thinking in terms of movies without likable characters or people that were like, yeah, likable or root forable. But
That's
I
totally
believe now it is. I believe children, you have the power to create words. I believe. I really think that like if the filmmaker is making a good movie,
yeah,
and everyone in it sucks.
You mean as a person, not they're bad at acting.
Oh, exactly that. Yes, thank you for that clarification. They're good actors, they're doing good jobs, but every one of their characters is terrible. They are terrible people. I'm looking at you, Woody Allen. You will find a character to sympathize with. I have examples. We can wait on that. But my point is, unless you want to talk about it now, but I really think that, like, you see a movie, there's nobody who's actually sympathetic, like in the sense of they're good people.
Right.
If the movie is remotely good, then it will present a problem for a protagonist, and you will desire for that protagonist to accomplish their stated goal or unstated goal. That's the movie. That's every movie. That's every movie ever made ever.
I'm going to go so far as to say I completely and totally agree with you. Like,
wow.
Like no disagreement whatsoever. And I think, and just to add to it, I think it's a bit of a chicken or the egg thing, but by this point we are programmed as moviegoers, as movie watchers, to root for or fall in line behind whoever the movie is following.
Yeah.
Even if we hate, you know what? Breaking Bad.
Oh yeah.
But
they give you this. Breaking Bad is they give you the start. He's a good guy at the start.
They true. Trick you. That's true.
But I mean, if we're gonna go television, that's a lot of television. That's yes. I mean, you've never watched Mad Men. The first 7 or 8 episodes, I'd say 6 or 7 episodes of Mad Men, first ever. I keep telling people you were gonna go. I called someone up and I was like, I don't like any of the. I don't like anybody. Like, am I gonna? And I said, if by the end of I'll watch till the end of the season,
right? Because
this Mad Men show is supposed to be amazing.
Right.
I'll watch till the end of the season. If by the end of the season I don't like anybody, I'm out.
Yeah.
By the end of the season, you love Don Draper.
Right. And
he does not become a better person.
I was going to say.
The imagination.
Right.
And the greatest example of this is Tony Soprano.
I was going to say. I think that's true.
Tony Soprano is my favorite character in television history. He is despicable. And you enter into his life in a place where it looks like he's deciding whether or not to be despicable, and you sort of enter into that question with him. Mm-hmm. But realistically,
but that turns out not to be the case, right?
He's a murderer.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But even if it doesn't turn out, you're rooting but what crushes you in the Sopranos arc is the idea that maybe he won't actually be rescued from his own evil or something.
Right.
But it crushes you, or has the potential to crush you, only because you care.
Right.
And they get you to care about a murderer.
Right. And it's not, and while I think in the case of these 3 television shows that we're talking about, Sopranos, Mad Men, and Breaking Bad, while I think they are all very well-made television shows, I'm not sure that it's wholly because they are well made that we feel that way. I think they are the character we follow, and you're just used to it, right?
I do not, by any stretch of the imagination, Andy, I want to say I do not, by any stretch of the imagination, think this is something we've been conditioned to as moviegoers. I think this is how people have been around telling stories for millennia.
Fair. That's fair.
Like when you read Cain and Abel. I mean, Cain and Abel, people, Genesis 4, okay? Is that right? Yeah, Genesis 4. Cain kills his brother Abel. Not cool.
True.
But Abel is not the point of the story. Abel doesn't even have any lines in the story. But Cain, first of all, so what happens in the story, right? And this is the whole story. Cain and Abel are brothers. Cain gives up an offering of grains to God. They're both sacrificing to God. Cain gives up an offering of grains because he's a farmer. Mm-hmm. Abel is a shepherd, and so he gives up an offering of the lamb. For reasons that are not explained at all in the story, God likes Abel's offering and not Cain's. So Cain gets furious, and God's like, maybe you better watch your temper. And Cain doesn't respond to God. And then Cain says to his brother, come out to the field with me, and then he kills his brother. Then he lies to God about it, and then God's like, no, I mean, I know you did it. And he curses Cain. And he curses Cain, and Cain complains. Like, he's like, but he curses Cain by, listen to this, he says to Cain, Cain's a farmer. And he says, you will never be able to till anything from the earth again. Nothing good will come from the earth. You will never be able to do this again. And then it says, and you will never find, you will never have a place to call your own. And it says, and then Cain, cries to God, how could you possibly punish me in this way? And someone's going to hurt me, someone's going to harm me. He cries to God. And but by the way, not apologizing, right? Not actually
right.
Sorry in any way. Nothing redeeming comes from Cain. There's no redemption.
Like the end of Faustus. He doesn't repent. He's just like, don't look. Oh God,
please
look not so fierce on me. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Not I shouldn't have done it. He says, and God basically, it's really weird. God says, I'm going to put a mark on your face so that if anyone sees you, they know not to touch you, because if they hurt you, I will hurt them. So you got to wonder what that mark is. Right. So now he's disfigured in some way, or has a mark on his face, which condemns him to live, not forever necessarily, but condemns him to live. No one will kill him, to live with his sin. And the final line is that Cain goes off and settles into the land of Nod. Now, the word Nod or Nod in Hebrew literally means wandering. So he goes to the land of wandering. So the man whose job was to stay in one place and care for the ground, and who just wants to be loved by God or accepted by God the way Abel is, can't handle it, kills his brother, and the one thing he's good at, he can't do that anymore, and he just becomes a wanderer forever.
Right.
And with a weird, disfigured face. Now, when you read that story, if you really read it, because if you just really look at it, you cannot read that story and be like, whatever, Cain. Part of you's like, oh,
yeah,
Cain.
Yeah.
Whoa, that, oh. And there's been midrash, there's been these stories on it that actually Cain, because no one can kill him, he can't die. So there's been these stories that told of Cain, he has to live forever because he killed his brother. He actually has to live forever with it. And there's a really good story by a guy named Adam Goldberg who's a modern author who wrote a story called Ladies and Gentlemen, the Bible. And it's all these takes on these stories. And he was on NPR. You can find his thing on NPR. He does this great thing on Cain and Abel. And basically Cain lives until he lives until he's outgrown or lived beyond everybody else that's around him, and no one and he basically lives until he doesn't want to live anymore, and beyond that, and something basically he lives until some certain point, some crazy thing happens, and then he dies. It's kind of an awesome story. You gotta look that guy up, Adam Goldberg. But okay. The point is that story, Andy, is 5,000 or 6,000 years old.
Yep.
And it's the first characters you meet are Adam and Eve. They don't apologize for anything either. Right. And then the second character you meet is Cain. And Cain is a murderer. And you read the story and you read it and you're like, oh, yep. That sucks for Cain. Is Cain sympathetic? No. Except that he is, because we sympathize.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, the question itself, can a movie be good without a sympathetic character? I don't know that a movie can be a movie without a sympathetic character.
Right.
Because I think a story, based on the fact that it's a story, it says more about us than it does about the storytelling.
Yes,
I think we
that's
find
absolutely true.
Someone to be sympathetic with. That's what I want to say.
I think so. If we can, if we can at least move to this part of the argument or this part of the discussion, because I think that's really well said. Mostly because you were agreeing with me when you said it.
You're,
So
I
I
like to do
think
that.
I think maybe traditionally sympathetic or likable, even though we've
Likeable.
said sympathetic and likable are not the same thing, or to use your extraordinarily real word, root forable,
Right.
which is also not the same
It's an
thing
SAT word.
as indeed, which is also not the same thing as likable, right? Because you are rooting
Right.
for Walter White, you are rooting for Tony Soprano most of the time, you know.
Yeah, no, it's actually funny. My brother has said he doesn't even root for Walter White anymore. And I'm like, yeah, but I do on some level.
I know
On some
exactly
level.
both of you. I agree with both of you. Like I don't, and
There
I
is
hate
no
him,
one.
but
Yeah.
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 So I also think this. There is something to be said for in and I do kind of want to stick to movies. There's something to be said for the Walter White arc in movies, which is there are plenty of movies that are good and also fun to watch that are the story of someone who is likable becoming not likable.
Yeah.
You know, um, um, in some sense, Citizen Kane is that. You know, he is a much more
Interesting.
attractive person when he is young and idealistic and full of, you know, to use the phrase, piss and vinegar, and he's like out to conquer the world. But once he conquers the world, he's a jerk. you know?
You watch him just fall apart.
Yes.
Well, you watch him move away from
Yes.
what he could have been and what he's meant to be.
There's
Huh.
a movie that I have mentioned many times on this podcast. I don't know that you've seen it, Phil. It's called Better Luck Tomorrow, and it follows four Asian American high school students.
You mentioned it twice on this show, and I've seen it 0 times. Go ahead. I remember the times you mentioned it. I'm an unsympathetic character. Continue.
This podcast is brought to you by the numbers 0 and 2, um, and the letter K.
Every once in a while, I just do something that just like for all of your goodness and wonder, just makes you go like, oh God, just fine.
Sprained something, rolling my eyes so hard. Better Luck Tomorrow follows four Asian American high school students, and
Why they got to
they
be Asian American, Andy?
because that's actually part of the story.
Fine.
Tough guy.
Okay.
Well, A, because they are, and B, that becomes part of the story. And they're not all likable at the beginning, but the protagonist is absolutely likable. He's a bit of a a milk toast. Like he's not all that
Sure.
interesting, but he's a likable guy. And by the end, he is definitively not a good person.
Wow.
Like there is no way to look at him and say when I was rooting for him, I was rooting for this to be where he ended up. And yet,
Right.
it is just a compulsively watchable blast of a movie to watch.
Mm.
Because it is, and all it is the Walter White. It is the Walter White character arc, which is to say, a slope definitively downward.
Do you do you do you do you have sympathy? Like, do you root for anybody?
In that movie,
Yeah.
no, there's uh, the there's the female lead, but she is at best the most the fifth largest character. It really is about these four guys, and
Mm.
and and a couple of the guys you pity, like, but that's not the same
That's a
thing.
thing.
Yeah, it is a thing, and it's a thing that it evokes that emotion very strongly, but it's not, it's you're not rooting for them in the way that you would think that phrase would be used. Um, Another movie that I was thinking about, which there really isn't a character arc in this way, and in his likability, is Edward Norton in 25th Hour. Um,
Yeah, but you sympathize with him a lot in that movie. I did.
This is why I want to talk about him, because you sympathize with him. I agree with that, but but you're never once like he's a good person. You might
Why is
forget
why is he going to jail again?
he's a drug dealer.
Yeah, but he's got a really nice girlfriend. Like, she's nice. She's a nice person, and he likes her. Like, you see him with her in a way that makes you feel like it's a real relationship.
I agree with that statement.
So he's sympathetic. That's my point, right?
Right, but I think it has more to. But I think that's a function of what you were saying, where it's not possible to make a movie without a sympathetic character. I don't think he's a likable person. I don't think the fact that he, like.
Got it. I'm with you.
You know what I mean?
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Congratulations, you're not a total jerk to one person in your life.
I'm with you.
You know, I also like mentioning, and thank you for doing this. I like the fact that you mentioned Woody Allen.
Well, I just watched Hannah and Her Sisters last week, and there is literally not one likable person in that. Like, there's not a likable character. The closest thing, the most sympathetic character is Mia Farrow's character, Hannah.
Yep.
But I find her to be obnoxious, and
yes.
I for one. There are very few times when I really like Mia Farrow in those movies. I think she's a good actor, but I think she's so, maybe she's not. Maybe I think she's a good actor, but I don't like her characters, or maybe, I don't know. She's always so shrill in his movies.
Yeah.
And like in that movie in particular, it's just like, oh, like every moment she's like, why are you, why? 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 It's like my daughter is 2, and so she gets to this place where when she's tired, she goes, why? I don't want. And that's Mia Farrow the whole movie in Hannah and Her Sisters.
Sure.
Woody Allen's character is so funny. He's not remotely a good, like, not even. It's not even that he's not a good person. He's not a likable person. There's a scene of him courting someone towards the end of the movie, and he courts her by insulting her. I'm not kidding.
Yes.
Repeatedly.
Yes.
And I'm like, why would you like
for all of the things that you. And I don't mean the general you, I mean you, Phil, would say about Woody Allen. Some of which I would agree with, most of which I would agree with, some of which I wouldn't, but whatever. One thing that I don't think anyone can deny is that Woody Allen doesn't really have a problem making himself not a champion of goodness in his movies when he is in the movie.
Yeah, no, that's true.
You know,
but,
I mean. In his 2, in my opinion, best movies, Annie Hall and Manhattan, like, things work out ill for his character because of his character flaws.
Yes, but he still manages to be very likable in both of them. I think.
Intermittently. I'll give you this. You see why the people who like him and love him in those movies like him and love him. But in the final analysis, he is not a good person in either of them.
Huh. Interesting. I have to think about that. Really? You don't think he's a good person in Manhattan?
Not especially.
I don't think he's an especially good person in any of his movies because I don't believe that Woody Allen believes in morality.
He spends the entire movie in a relationship with a 17-year-old.
No, he doesn't. He breaks up with her and dates someone else, an adult.
All right. Fair. Fine, that's fair.
And really tries to make it work, I think.
What's interesting is it's clear that he should have. This is weird considering what I just said.
The way the movie is written, it's clear that he should have stayed with a 17-year-old.
Clear.
And he wrote it that way.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not disputing that. I'm not disputing that. But I will say this: fine, you're right. He does break up with her at the beginning of the movie, but it's not like they were a one-night stand. They were a full-on relationship.
Agreed.
You know?
Agreed.
That's I mean, like, I feel like in that of the movie,
yeah,
sort of extends before the beginning of the movie, if you will.
Yep. I'm with you. I'm with you.
A movie that I know you love.
Go on.
Fearless.
Okay. Careful now.
The main character spends most of the movie being so closed off emotionally that he is very, very difficult to like.
This is a tricky movie for me, and I don't want to get too deeply into it because I'm guessing most of the people we're talking to haven't actually seen Fearless. In which case, by the way, Fearless is one of my 5 favorite movies. See Fearless. It's Jeff Bridges and Rosie
Right.
Perez and John Turturro and Benicio del Toro, and it is a phenomenal film.
Isabella
Just
Rossellini and
Isabella Rossellini, how could I forget? I apologize.
Sure.
She's so wonderful. And
so wonderful.
Peter Weir directed it. It's a beautiful movie. And here's what I will say. It's got beautiful music. It's a great example of a movie of Peter Weir as a director who I think is one of my favorite directors and one of the most spiritual directors working. And he uses classical music to score movies quite often in a way that just makes it feel like it was written for the movie. It's amazing. But in that movie, I mean, the thing is, what happens is Jeff Bridges' character survives a plane crash, and he becomes fearless in a certain way, or thinks of himself as fearless. He's not scared of death, and in his liberation, he begins to shut himself off from his family, which honestly, Andy, I didn't realize for the first 3 times I watched the movie. And what was fascinating to me, because I was younger, and now I get it more. But what's funny is the movie, and it means something more to me every time I see it, but what's funny is so much of the movie we spend loving him because he's so free.
Yes.
That I don't actually agree. I would actually say that you don't really think of him as unlikable. And well, I didn't until I'd seen the movie 3 or 4 times. And then I realized and maybe that was just because I'm younger. Maybe as an adult I'd watch it for the first time and say, what a jerk he's being. But it was hard for me I was so amazed by what his character had been through and so excited to see someone living the way he was living that I thought, why is everyone else such a drag?
You know, it's interesting. Sec Breckers, I have only seen this movie because Phil recommended it to me in college. And that is pretty much how you sold it to me. It is. That's pretty much how you sold it to me. Like maybe you didn't go so far as to say that everyone else is a drag,
right?
But it was implied. It was like because you were extolling the path that this character.
Yeah, I mean, it was very personal to me because.
And what I'm about to say is not to invalidate that emotional response, obviously.
Of course, sure.
But my emotional response was what you just said your emotional response might be if you were to watch it for the first time as an adult.
Right.
And it's not, I mean, so I think, and I'm guessing more adults than kids watch this podcast. I'm just going to guess.
Emotionally, maybe not, but yeah,
Fair.
certainly, yeah.
Right.
No, it'd be interesting to see. I'd love, if you've never seen Fearless, I'd love for you to see it and then to check in with me about it, because I'd love to hear people's opinions about it. It's a special movie to me. I think it's a special movie to me but I think that goes back to that sympathetic thing, is we find things in characters that relate and resonate to us, and it makes them likable. So, for instance, I was profoundly scared of death in high school and college. I think I go back and forth with it now. Ironically, the closer I get to seeing death, or when I've seen people die or been touching death, when I've been around it, I've witnessed an autopsy. I've been in an ER with dead people. I've seen family members die, literally been with them. And in those moments, I'm not scared at all. It's amazing. Like the closer I am to death as its thing, I'm not scared of it. But when I'm by myself and thinking all by myself and sitting in my head, I get scared of it. I grew up sort of very weirded out by death, as I think a lot of people in our culture do. And so this movie, watching this guy sort of come through the other side within the movie, blew me away. And the first time I saw it, the end was anticlimactic for me.
Fascinating.
Or the climax was amazing, but I didn't understand why it was it was filmed so beautifully that I was like, wow, but I didn't understand why that was so important.
Mm-hmm.
And now, as someone who's married, the ending is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it's just an astonishingly beautiful movie.
I might watch that this weekend, actually. I haven't watched Fearless in a while. So, anyways, yeah.
So real quick, let's just break down.
Wait, do I get to name some movies or no?
Well, I confess I have named movies before I wanted to name movies. Your
confession has been heard, and we will move on.
Tabs, although. So let's talk about because I think we're in agreement that is true, this statement. Like, you can't have a movie like that's fun to watch without a sympathetic character. That's true, but for sort of a different reason, right? Because you can't really have a movie without a sympathetic character, right?
Right.
So it's true, but so if you expand it to be likability, or root for ability, it's still true, I think, but it's true only to a point. Let's talk about why it's true to that point and where it isn't true. Sort of where that line is.
Okay.
I'm curious as to what you think about that.
What I think about what specifically?
Like, where is the line for you? And this is probably a personal thing. It's got to be. Where is the line for you where you're like, nope, I can't root for that character anymore? Like it takes you out of the movie, or is there a point?
I don't know.
Is there a point where that happens?
In a good movie, it's hard to think of one. What you just said implies that I was rooting for the character at some point.
That's true.
And I'm like let me give you an example. Let me give you an example.
Please do.
I am watching The Office.
Sure.
The Office has long become something that is completely and utterly abusive to its audience. They're now desecrating one of the best television relationships in my lifetime, and they're just desecrating it. And yet I still root for it. So I'm an idiot, is what I'm saying. And I'm someone who is willing to root for someone long after it makes any sense to do so.
Sure.
So it's hard for me to think of a time when I would just go like, all right, I'm out on that guy. And I almost feel like if that happens with a movie, then I would actually wonder if that's a good movie. Like, again, it goes back to that point. If you've taken the character to a point where I can no longer have anything for this guy or gal, I'm not sure I'm in anymore.
Sure.
On the movie.
Sure.
So I cannot think of an example off the top of my head. I really do, and I'm not trying to make it sound like I'm just like super empathetic, whichever word is right. But I do feel, is it empathic or empathetic?
Empathetic.
Empathic seems nice because you have empathy.
Yeah.
Empathic. But I guess you have sympathy, and that's sympathetic, not sympathic. Listen, I'll make up words all day long. Empathic always seemed nice to me. Empathetic.
Right.
I'm not empathetic. I'm an
root for ability fills a niche. We already have words that mean what you were trying to say.
They don't limit me. Don't limit me. I'm unlimitable. See what I did there?
Yes.
I'm unlimitable.
Go to your room.
I'm unlimitations.
Go to your room.
Don't misunderestimate me.
Oh,
Yeah, I guess I'm not trying to point myself as too empathetic. I just don't know that there's a time when I've just been watching and been like, I'm out on this character altogether. And then, although, you know what would be close? Peter Banning in Hook. Robin Williams is one of the most unsympathetic heroes in any. I think it's a fault of the movie. That's an example where I think it doesn't work because I'm like, oh, you're such a jerk. Like I don't even like. Ugh. Anyways.
Right. I'm going to invoke one of the most controversial movies of our lifetime.
Please.
And that is The Brown Bunny.
Okay.
Have you seen it?
No.
That's okay.
That's sort of how I feel about it.
I'm not sorry I saw it, but it's not one of like, well, thank God I saw that.
Right.
For those, just very briefly, it is about a man traveling across country trying to forget his girlfriend who is no longer in his life. And in every scene, he meets another woman that he somehow screws up their life. It's just like, oh God. And at the end, there is, and this is what it is famous for, there is an explicit sexual act that happens on screen. It is not gratuitous. It is not done in a salacious way. It is one of the most depressing scenes I have ever seen. But it is... So this story is this guy who is just a total screw-up. And you're watching him screw up. And, like, you're watching him screw up other people's lives. And he is trying to get over a screw-up that happened before the movie started. And when you find out the circumstances, it is devastating. He is not a sympathetic character.
Mm.
And yet, my heart broke for him, just because if nothing else, that movie, and it's not a great movie, but it's an okay movie. It is good enough. Let me say that it is a good enough movie that he became that character. He became that character that was, on whatever level he was able to be, sympathetic. And it's just, and you're just like, and it's one of those things, like it's almost like the dramatic version of the horror, like, don't go down in the basement. It's like, oh, please,
Right.
Like, I know what you're gonna do, and you're just
don't do that.
Like,
but it's not a good movie, you're saying.
It's problematic. It's problematic, but I wonder, here's where I don't know if I'm agreeing with you fully. I agree with you mostly. I don't know that it's problematic because he is unsympathetic. Does that make sense? Like,
Okay.
I think there are other problems with the movie. I don't know that I think the fact that he is unsympathetic is one of them. Another character who is somewhat similar is Nicholson in Five Easy Pieces. I mean, that guy's just a mess. He's a mess.
But you sympathize with him for being a mess. You know that he's on his way. He's estranged from his father. Like,
Yes.
Mm.
But even that, it's similar. And it is.
I would say
similar in
Easy
this way.
Rider. Speaking of Nicholson, Easy Rider.
Yes.
Not an unsympathetic character in there. But I
Yeah.
also didn't like Easy Rider, so that's tricky.
Fair.
But I mean, when I watch Easy Rider, I'm like, I don't care about anybody.
Sure.
Like, I'm sad that people die in that movie based on the fact that I wish people didn't get killed in real life.
Right.
But that's literally the only reason why I'm sad.
Right. That. To be perfectly honest, that's a better way of saying what I was trying to say about the brown bunny. Not that he doesn't die at the end, but
No,
like
you're
that, like,
sad because they've created a situation where you're like, I would just be sad that that's
right. I just owe the humanity, basically.
It's kind of hard to, I have not seen The Brown Bunny.
Yeah.
It's very hard for me to conceive of a movie that you tell me is really, really sad, where the last scene is somebody having any sort of intimate relationship with Chloe Sevigny. It's hard for me to imagine that the final scene is that, and it's sad.
It is.
I believe you. I believe you. It's
devastating.
Just
Devastating.
well, that strains credulity for me. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying every scenario I can come up with where that's the final scene of a movie, it's like a happy ending in the movie. You're like, yay!
No, you understand that you want us to be a family podcast, and I literally cannot respond without making us not a family podcast.
That's
You're
fine.
just going to have to trust me.
I'm going to trust you because, again, I'm never going to see that movie. Because I'll go back to the idea. I don't want to see a movie where that is the case, where Chloe Sevigny is being intimate with someone and it's depressing. I don't want that for my heart. She's so lovely. And by the way, a totally underrated actress.
I agree with that.
She is one of those. I hope that she made her bones on Big Love. I hope that Big Love, because she was great on it, and I hope like Brown Bunny ruined her in a lot of ways for her reputation. And
I agree with that.
she lost her representation. She had to get new representation. Blah 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 blah. She has this weird reputation. I would love to see her in more stuff because I think she's really a very special actor.
I agree with you.
And an legitimately interesting actor.
Yes.
Like, legitimately.
Yeah.
There's so many cardboard cutouts, and especially with women, because of the way that Hollywood treats women, because of the systematic sort of objectification and commodification of women, that someone like Chloe Sevigny just utterly rebels against in her being.
Yes.
And she's just like, there's more going on with her in 5 seconds. And by the way, in Big Love, she is a completely unlikable character for 4 seasons, or for however long the show is. Utterly unlikable.
Sure.
And yet they make her sympathetic. Big Love was never great.
Okay.
I shouldn't say that. It was never a great show.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very good show with many great moments that
Okay.
never got great.
Okay.
But it's a totally good show, and everybody in it was all the actors. I mean,
I believe that.
just
I
Jennifer
easily believe
Goodwin and Gene Triplehorn and Bill Paxton. Everybody was really in Chloe Sevigny and Amanda Seyfried. But if you were to say, should I watch Big Love? Like, should I start from the beginning? I'd be like, I don't know, maybe. Like, I'd say after you watch this, like, you've still never seen Deadwood and Mad Men, so
that. Right. No. Clearly does. Clearly does.
Anyways, I'd like to list a couple of movies for you.
Please do. Let's.
By the way, I've got
that.
3 movies that everybody's heard me talk about before, but they don't have any likable characters or sympathetic. Either no likable characters or no sympathetic characters, and that's what we're going to talk about.
Okay.
First 2 movies with no sympathetic characters,
Okay.
and yet we sympathize.
Okay.
Glengarry Glen Ross.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's a bad person in that movie.
It's on my list. Everyone is a bad.
Is it really?
Everyone is a bad person.
Okay, but you do sympathize with the machine.
Yes.
Shelley the Machine Levine.
When the most sort of empirically sympathetic person in that movie is either Kevin Spacey's character or Al Pacino's character, I mean,
it's sort of like, yeah, Ricky Roma. Ricky Roma is the most sympathetic character just based on the fact that he's knows who he is and is not a villain.
Yes.
He's not even a villain. He's just a salesman.
Yeah.
Who's really good at it and probably a scumbag. Definitely a scumbag, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody's bad in that movie.
Yes.
Oh God. But it's just riveting. It's
Yeah,
riveting.
yes.
And they're sympathetic because they're people.
Yes.
That's why. It's the
Yes.
only reason. Okay. One of my favorite movies of all time, Goodfellas.
Sure.
Think about that movie and
yeah.
try to tell me one person in it who's a good person.
Nope.
The closest... Yeah, hold on. Ready? No. Like, the wife would be the closest, except she is just a disaster.
It's true.
Like, she just makes bad choice after bad choice after
Yes.
bad choice after bad choice after
Indeed.
bad choice, to the point where you're like, honey, I got nothing for you. It's like a horror movie. It's like, well, don't go in there, right? Like you said
Right.
that earlier. That's how
Yes.
she is. You're exactly right. You're
Yes.
exactly right. And now, the movie where everyone's likable, but no one is sympathetic or even good. My favorite movie of all time, Pulp Fiction.
Nice.
Every character in that movie, and I didn't think about it till I just thought about it tonight. None of them are good people.
It's true.
None of them. They're not.
No.
The most amazing thing about that, and well, 2 things. One is, the most amazing thing about that movie is that they're all likable, and I mean extremely likable.
Yeah.
Like, you love every character.
The best
None of-
person in that movie, Bruce Willis's girlfriend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes, she is easily the best person in that movie.
But she's a
Yeah.
hot mess. I mean,
Maybe Julia Sweeney as Raquel,
that was my other choice. That was my other choice.
Who's in it for 5 seconds and probably doesn't know that everyone she's talking to is a dastardly criminal.
Indeed.
Probably doesn't know.
Right. Probably.
Like, Quentin Tarantino's character, Jimmy, seems like a normal guy, although he uses the N-word a little too much, but he's married to a black woman, so that changes it a little bit, and his best friend's black. But he doesn't mind the fact that there's a dead guy in his garage.
Right.
He only minds because it would get him in trouble with his wife. You know what happens if she comes home? I'm getting a divorce.
Yeah.
Not what are you doing killing people. Just why are you bringing
How is your propensity to kill people putting me out?
Right.
Yes.
Not marriage counseling, not trial separation, a divorce. I don't want a divorce. That's his reasoning. No one in Pulp Fiction is good. The other really great thing about Pulp Fiction is every single person in it is bad, and in the final scene, someone becomes good.
Yeah.
Legitimately so. And becomes good on his own terms.
Yep.
And becomes good in a way that you do not see coming. Like,
Right.
it's there is a really interesting device that J.R.R. Tolkien uses in his writing. and it is not Deus Ex Machina, but it is a version of It's people consider it. People consider it sort of like, oh yes, it's called a eucatastrophe.
Okay.
Eucatastrophe. Okay.
Which is like the opposite of a catastrophe.
I
Like,
will read from Wikipedia because this is so important.
is this EU? Is this the
EU?
Okay.
You EUC, like EU catastrophe.
Gotcha.
Eucatastrophe is a term coined by J.R.R. Tolkien, which refers to the sudden turn of events at the end of a story, which ensure that the protagonist does not meet some terrible, impending, and very plausible doom. He formed the word by affixing the Greek "eu," meaning good, to the catastrophe.
Right.
For Tolkien, it's different. It's different from Deus Ex Machina because with Deus Ex Machina, it's completely and utterly inexplicable. It just
Gotcha.
out of nowhere,
Right.
something happens.
Right.
But his example is in Lord of the Rings. I guess I shouldn't spoiler Lord of the Rings, right? But right when something bad, and I mean awful, is about to happen to our protagonists, something else happens somewhere else, and it creates this chain reaction that saves them.
Yes.
That's an example of a eucatastrophe, right? Like, it's not that it came out of nowhere. It's just that for the people that it's happening to, it comes out of nowhere.
Right.
For us who are watching, right? Like, there's something that happens that makes Jules' redemption at the end of Pulp Fiction completely plausible.
Yeah.
But the movie doesn't seem to be moving towards that, or it's not a given that that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a Deus Ex Machina either. It's something different, and it changes the whole movie. So Pulp Fiction is a very interesting movie where no one is good, but everyone is likable.
Right.
And for that reason, everyone's kind of sympathetic. Although, who got nominated but for Best Actor in that movie?
Was it Travolta? I honestly don't remember.
It was. He's the lead in that film.
Okay.
When he dies, it is not. There's no sympathy.
No. It's true. That's true.
Weird. It's weird. Pulp Fiction is a very. I want to think more about. I just want to sit around and think about that movie. I just want to think about it. I want to stop talking and just sit here and think. Okay, those are the three movies I listed. I wrote those three movies and then just wrote Woody Allen.
Indeed. Yes. And I put Annie Hall, many Woody Allen movies actually.
I mean, Broadway Danny Rose, Sweet and Lowdown, Bullets Over Broadway, Crimes and Misdemeanors, Hannah and Her Sisters. God, it's exhausting. Why not true. Like what? True. Okay, anyway, go ahead. Go ahead with your list.
So I want to sort of pick out some things that I noticed from your list and from other things that you've said. And something that is absolutely true and you have said at least once and implied through pretty much everything that you have been talking about. The true meaning of the word sympathetic, where it differs from likability, is sort of a recognition of a kindred something, a kindred feeling, a kindred spirit, a kindred notion or outlook, right? And so since we've already talked about a Greek prefix, from SYM meaning, the same, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that one of the things, because not to get all philosophical, but we're none of us perfect, and we know that. Even the most egotistical of us knows that we're not perfect. So when we see someone who we are ostensibly supposed to root for do something that is the dramatic version of "Don't go down in the basement," you're like, oh God. But you're also like, I can see how that happened. If it's a well-made movie. Do you think that's fair?
Yes.
And the movie that I want to bring up is not only for this sort of niche, only for this particular point, is Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Now I am not going to make the argument that Jason Segel's character is not sympathetic or not likable. He is. But what elevates that movie, and this is actually true for most of Judd Apatow's movies, what elevates that movie from just being another dumb comedy is the scene where Sarah Marshall tells him all the things he was bad at in the relationship. And she's not wrong. And she's not lying.
Right.
Like, it's like, no, Yes, she's not
Like-
a great person because
Right.
you find out later she was, sleeping with the guy before.
Right.
But this is not a one-sided thing. She is not this demonic figure. You know?
God, I would watch that right now too.
Right? Totally.
I remember you saw that movie. You saw a sneak preview of that movie months before it came out.
I did.
And I remember you calling me up and saying, first of all, that was an amazing movie. Secondly, I'm pretty sure I could draw Jason Segel's penis from memory now.
I might still be able to, and it's been a couple of years since I've seen that movie. I mean, it's basically third build after him.
It's true.
Yeah,
It's true.
Right.
It's true.
Have you ever seen any of Mike Leigh's movies? He's a British director.
Oh yeah, I've seen Topsy Turvy, in which no one is likable.
Nice. He has a movie. Yes, that is true. That is true. I really like him as a director. Although
I have not seen enough of his movies.
That's true. I've seen many of his movies. I haven't seen enough of his movies. There's a movie that he made called Naked, starring David Thewlis.
Mm-hmm. I know of him.
And he is maybe the worst character in movie history. He is a tornado of awful. But he is completely mesmerizing. For every frame he is on screen, you cannot look away from him. It is one of the best performances I have ever seen. I don't know if he didn't win an Academy Award. I don't know if he was nominated.
They have it on Criterion Collection, by the way.
It's marvelous. It is marvelous. The Warriors. I mean, these are gangs, and it's gangs fighting each other. These are not good people. Our heroes, the people we root for, get in trouble more than once. Once with the police, and once with a rival gang, a female gang. And the reason they're in a position to get in trouble with them is because they are planning on sexually assaulting them. I mean,
it's a fair point. So
these are not good people.
You've made a fair point.
I appreciate that. Something that I'm a little surprised we didn't talk about more. Film noir. Double Indemnity.
Wow.
You know?
My bad.
No,
my bad.
Mean, my
bad.
Because and here's why it probably didn't occur to you. Because they are fascinating characters and they draw you in through every way other than a recognition of a similar moral code, right? They are it's like Bizarro World, where for a while you think that the bad guys can get away with stuff, and it's fascinating, right? Double Indemnity is I mean, even though it starts with the ending, right, and you know how it's going to turn out. No, it's fascinating.
Double Indemnity is another one of those movies that it's like, I don't care what you think about old movies. I really don't.
Yeah.
Double Indemnity.
Yeah. Yes.
I can't wait to watch that again on the it's coming up on the AFI Top 100 with my wife. I can't wait to watch that movie again.
Sure. The French Connection. Gene Hackman.
I love Gene Hackman in that movie.
He's a jerk.
I know.
Right. Again,
you're not wrong.
Again,
but he's a
jerk.
This
is what we're talking about,
he's
right?
A cop. I mean, I think that's a sympathetic. I think a narc cop is like a automatically sympathetic character.
Roy Scheider is an actually sympathetic character in that movie.
No, but I understand that he's nicer than
Right.
Popeye, but I still think Popeye is like, by virtue of what he does, we're rooting for him.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. I'm not sorry I brought it up, but that's a fair point.
He's not a cop like Bad Lieutenant. Oh my God! See Nick Cage in Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans.
Yeah.
First of all, I don't care I don't care what you say about Nick Cage. This is an amazing performance.
Yeah.
It is the definition of tour de force.
Yes.
And he is a disgusting human being. And the movie is, I'm going to go ahead and call it prurient.
Nice. Well done.
Thank you. And so if you want to think nice things about me as a priest, don't see that movie. If you don't care or you already judge me terribly and think I'm not a good person, go ahead and see it.
Go ahead.
It's just a guilty pleasure, but it's an amazing performance.
something you said earlier, I don't know that there's that you can't think of a movie where the characters have done something and you were like, I'm just done. I'm done with that character, or I'm done with this
Well, that I
movie.
said was a good movie. I feel
Fair.
like that makes it not a good movie anymore.
Fair. The movies that come closest to me, and I sort of just realized it as I was about to say it because it was already on my list, but pretty much any of Neil LaBute's movies.
Yep.
In the company of, most specifically, In the Company of Men and Your Friends and Neighbors.
I have
There
not
is-
seen Your Friends and Neighbors since I saw it the first time, which was in the theaters, and I'm done. I was like, okay, I'm all good.
it is, and I mean, it is a well-made movie. The performances are stellar in both movies. The performances are stellar. It is no worse than competently directed. It's not a cinematic
Oh,
movie.
it's a well-made movie.
Yeah, neither of them are cinematic movies really. They're about the performances. But it is they're just it's I mean
I have not seen In the Company of Men since college,
Yeah,
so I don't want to speak too grandly about it, but
sure.
I'm not sure I've ever been more devastated by a movie. Like, I shouldn't say devastated because there were movies where I just wept uncontrollably like a child.
Sure.
That didn't happen.
Right.
I'm not sure I've ever left a movie feeling worse about everything.
Yes. I
think that and Unfaithful
Yep.
were the two movies I walked out. I saw Unfaithful with my brother and his wife on Valentine's Day or Mother's Day?
Either
Mother's
way,
Day?
it's terrible.
On Mother's Day, I think. On Mother's Day, after I'd broken up with my college girlfriend, and the three of us went and saw it, and we went outside and it was raining. And then we drove, and I'm not kidding, and then we drove to the hospital to see someone who was in the hospital. It was like the worst day of all time. The only way it could have been worse is if like one of us died on the way home. None of us did. We all lived to just be like, what happened to us?
Right? You couldn't just like rent the Goonies or something. Like,
When you live in Boston, it's like that's its own kind of punishment, so you just sort of live into it. Like, you know those times when you just are like, well, I'm just going to be miserable then?
Yeah.
That's what it's like the whole time you're in Boston as a place, especially during the spring. So, yeah, we might as well watch a movie that's depressing and then go visit someone in the hospital that's not like a fun person in the hospital. It was like, let's go see that guy in the hospital. Okay.
Nice.
Still raining outside? It's Boston.
Of course it is.
Of course it is.
The last thing on my list is another director. And it's not he's sort of a special case because he doesn't, I mean, his characters are not good people, but they're not terrible people necessarily, but they are he specializes in obsessives to the point where you couldn't actually imagine being around them if they were real people instead of characters in a movie. And that is Werner Herzog.
I have never seen a Werner Herzog movie.
You will love him, but his characters are ridiculous.
Okay.
I will say this. The two movies that come to mind are Aguirre, The Wrath of God, and
Sure.
Fitzcarraldo. Both characters, Aguirre and Fitzcarraldo, are played by Klaus Kinski. And one of them, Fitzcarraldo, what he does is to build an opera house in the middle of the Amazon, he has people drag a boat over a mountain.
Right.
Which Werner Herzog filmed by actually dragging a boat over a mountain. This
Right.
man is crazy, crazy, crazy.
Yep.
And Aguirre, The Wrath of God is the story of like, well, let's just say he's a conqueror who his conquered lands get smaller and smaller as what he is lord and master of by the end of the movie is one of the most metaphorically beautiful final shots of any movie ever.
Got it.
None of them are good people.
Okay.
None of them are good people, but they are, and partially because they're both of these characters are played by Klaus Kinski, who is one of the most watchable actors in the world because his eyes make you think that he might be controlling your soul. Like he's so intense.
Nice.
So you need to watch both of those movies at some point.
Okay.
You will like them a lot, even as you don't like any of the characters.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'll see those movies. I'm up for it.
Sure.
I'm not against it. I'm for it.
Sure.
Just haven't done it yet.
Sure. So, Keith, I think we've answered your question. It was. Do you think that's fair? Is that fair?
Yeah. It's like, yeah. I mean, I end with what I began with that which I began, which is I think that it is constitutionally. I think we are constitutionally incapable of not sympathizing with somebody if a movie's any good.
That's really well said. Any good, like any good at all.
And many bad movies we will sympathize with.
Yes.
Terrible people.
Yes.
In fact, most romantic comedies that aren't good, if a romantic comedy is not good, it's usually just you watching insipid, terrible people.
The worst. Yes.
Who don't deserve any happiness.
Agreed.
And then you go like, yay, when they
together.
kiss.
Right. They're together, and part of you's
they're going to be divorced like a year from now.
Right. Part of you's like, yay, they're together. That takes the pressure off of me to date either one of them.
Right. I like the idea that, like, well, I guess I'll date them so someone does. I like the idea of, like, well, I'll take one for the team here, right? And date this person. I mean, they're miserable, but someone's got to do this. So.
All right, fine. All right, I drew the black bean.
That's it.
Alrighty. Well, hopefully we have not become completely unsympathetic over the course of this podcast. But I think that'll do it for us here at Second Breakfast tonight. We are sorry that it is so late, but you know what? It's like an underground show, right?
It's just we show up when we show up.
That's right.
Listen, we're here though, ever faithful, ever stalwart. Okay.
Nice.
We do what we do for you.
Indeed.
We love you, America. We love you, parts unknown. We love you, Ireland. There's several of you from Ireland.
Yes. South Africa. Don't think we've forgotten about you.
Do we have people in South Africa?
We do.
Free South Africa.
Yeah.
Oh, it's already done.
Yep.
It happened. But I was thinking about Lethal Weapon 2.
Nice.
Is our friends in China and our friends in China still in China?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we're totally international. And with that, this has been Second Breakfast. I'm Andy Roth, and that's Phil Duvall. We'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The most important meal of the day, second